Hey everyone, Miguel Benitez here, helping you on the search for thoughtful Christianity. Today I'm going to provide you with a second line of evidence for the historicity of the resurrection of Jesus. But first, make sure to click that like button down below as well as subscribe for more content like this. So the second line of evidence for the historicity of the resurrection of Jesus that I want to present you with is eyewitness testimony. Just good old eyewitness testimony. This is something that skeptics lately have kind of wanted to shed some doubt on and suggest like eyewitness testimony is infamously unreliable, and that's simply not the case. Now, even the studies that many of the skeptics bring out and to try and indicate that eyewitness testimony is not reliable, oftentimes indicate that it is generally reliable. Now, are there instances, and many instances, of eyewitness testimony failing or people lying? All of those things certainly do happen. But particularly in an ancient context, eyewitness testimony is about as good as we can hope for when it comes to historical evidence. Not only that, but even in a court of law today, eyewitness testimony carries a lot of weight with it. And so I turn us to 1 Corinthians 15, in which Paul gives us a list of eyewitnesses to the resurrected Jesus. Picking up in verse 3, he says, "For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas, then to the 12. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time, most of whom are still alive, though some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James, then to the apostles. Last of all, as to one untimely born, he appeared also to me. For I am the least of the apostles, unworthy to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God I am what I am, and his grace toward me was not in vain. On the contrary, I worked harder than any of them, though it was not I, but the grace of God that is with me. Whether then it was I or they, so we preached, and so you believed." And so here, Paul's giving us a list. He's telling us that the 12 saw him, that Cephas, Peter, saw him in an individual appearance, that James, the brother of Jesus, saw him, that over 500 people at one time saw him, and that Paul himself saw him. And what's interesting is this side note that he gives us when he mentions the 500 witnesses. He says, most of whom are still alive today. So why would Paul make that statement? Why would Paul indicate that most of the eyewitnesses who saw him when he appeared to over 500, that they were still alive when Paul was writing this letter? Well, Paul is clearly indicating they're around for investigation. You can go ask them yourself what it is that they witnessed, what it is that they saw. So I'd encourage you to consider just the weightiness of this line of evidence, that we had over 500 witnesses on multiple occasions coming to the same conclusion that they had seen the risen Jesus. They all knew that Jesus was dead at point A, and then he was alive at point B. And they all came to the same conclusion that Jesus had bodily risen from the dead. So I'd encourage you to consider the weight of this evidence as we continue to look at different lines of evidence throughout this Holy Week, all to culminate on Easter Sunday, in which we remember and we thank God for the resurrection of his Son. As always, I leave you with this. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Be sure to subscribe. Also, if you missed yesterday's video, be sure to go check it out, as I'll be kind of laying out a number of evidences throughout this week that while no single one is determinative, while no single one proves without a shadow of doubt that Jesus rose from the dead, historically speaking, I think when they're all taken together, they do formulate a very strong and powerful argument that Jesus did not stay dead, and that should cause us to think about who he said that he was.